The Chicago Bears made a lot of moves yesterday, but I'm going to tell you why they did more than just sign talent in the trenches, and it starts right now. Now, if you are new to the channel, please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the page. We do talk Chicago sports daily on this channel. It's the only channel talk Chicago sports, how Chicago talks. So make sure that you stay in tune with us, man. Again, still free agency. So if you see me looking to the right, it's because I'm updating with Adam Schefter and any news that may be coming down the pipeline to see if anything new comes with the Bears. But I say all that to say, appreciate y'all for rocking with us. We had a crazy day yesterday. We're going to keep it going here today. And I want to talk about some of the moves that the Bears made yesterday because, and just in this process, because there's one move that was made yesterday and one move that the Bears traded for that I think are very impactful moves for this organization hitting the ground running this season and continuing to move in the right direction. And I want to start it off with yesterday's move of signing Grady Jarrett, because last season there was a lot of conversation around how we've got all this leadership council. We've got this great group of leaders in the building. Oh, I trust my leadership council, even though apparently Matt Eberflus never even listened to these guys. But there were all of these pieces that you look around at, and you notice on the leadership council, there were no leaders in the trenches. There were no offensive line leaders. There were no defensive line leaders. In fact, last season, I remember asking Tevin Jenkins about, who do you feel is a leader of this offensive line? Who's really taking up the mantle? Without a beat, he said, Ryan Bates is the guy. He's the vocal leader. He got in the locker room, immediately started talking. I was like, Ryan Bates hasn't practiced in 2 weeks. What? Oh, no. We don't have any leaders in the trenches. And by that, I mean guys who are willing to speak up. Right. I do think that we have leadership from Montez Sweat in the trenches. He's more of a lead by example kind of guy. Get on my back and I will take you where you need to go kind of player. I do think that that form of leadership is important in this locker room, but you'd have to have those guys who are willing to speak up when guys are not getting the job done, especially those guys in the trenches. Just about every single championship team has those guys in the trenches, has those leaders. And I think that you grabbed a couple here. Grady Jarrett spent 10 years in Atlanta, and he was so impactful in that organization that the owner of the team had to come out and give a statement when they traded him away. And I think that that's something that bringing that here to Chicago on the defensive line. Now, is Grady Jarrett going to be elite for the Bears? I hope so. But realistically speaking, he's probably a little bit over the hill. You're going to have him in situational spots on the defensive line here. But what I think that he brings is, one, I think he brings an answer to a question that we saw with Andrew Billings last season, where Andrew Billings kind of became more of a run stuffer. I think that he became more of a pass rusher. I think we see him go back to being a little bit more of a run stuffer this season, which can answer the question of the issues in the run game last season. But I think at the same time, right, you add some vocal leadership to that defensive line. You add somebody who's going to hold these guys accountable. He's not going to let guys slack off. You add somebody who's been in winning situations, who's been in losing situations, and knows how to navigate both of those experiences. And you add veteran leadership that is actually on the practice field, that is actually on the field, play in and play out. Outside of one season, Grady Jarrett has just about been the pinnacle of health. I don't expect all of that to just magically go out the window this season. I understand that it's football, and of course, injuries can happen, but even so, I think that you're taking a chance on Grady Jarrett being a true leader in this locker room and somebody who has the highest standard when it comes to wanting to see success on this team. I think on the flip side of that, you also added that in with Joe Toney, and he's going to cost you a pretty penny. Are you seeing the extensions that are being handed out here? I mean, we're seeing guard money that I never thought that we were going to see handed out over these last couple of days here. But a 5-year, $88 million deal for Will Fries, you're probably looking somewhere. I would say probably more on a 3-year deal for Joe Toney, but probably looking somewhere in there. But you're getting more than just the player. Very similar to Grady Jarrett. You're getting more than just a guy who can go out there and play the football position. You're getting a guy that has championship experience. You're getting a guy that has an understanding of what it takes for a quarterback to be the greatest quarterback of that era. Guess what? He's played with both of them. He's done it with Tom Brady. He's done it with Patrick Mahomes. He's got, I believe, 4 Super Bowl rings that he can walk in and say, listen, you want these? Follow my advice and look at the rest of that offensive line and actually hold guys accountable. And I think that's the thing that we've been talking about with this team. Listen, when we talk about accountability, and let me know, hit the like button if you agree with this or not. Hit the like button if you don't agree, but just hit the like button. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love. Subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. To me, the accountability that kept coming up, that Ben Johnson says when he talks to the players, that's the thing that kept coming up, right? It's not just on Matt Eberflus. It's not just on Shane Waldron. They're the ones that need to be held the most accountable. Guess what? They're fired. But I left last season looking at our leadership council and literally went, who are the leaders? Is Jalen Johnson the leader? Is Mercedes Lewis a leader? Cole Kmet? Who are the leaders on this team? And not to say they're not trying to be leaders, but I think the thing is, when you look at how the team folded, you're going to follow what the best of you will do. And I understand a talent deficiency and all that, the offensive line, there's not much that you can do. But that offensive line was broken the second that they walked into the season, and Nate Davis was still on the line, being allowed to do the things that he was allowed to do. You're as strong as your weakest link. And guess what? Your weakest link wasn't even a part of the chain for most of the season. And so I think that that's what the Chicago Bears went out and wanted to go out and add to this team, not just going out there and adding talent, which I do think they did. I like Dale Odegbo. I like the addition of Grady Jarrett in the middle. I like Joe Toney on this line. But let's be real. It's not just about teaching guys football. It's about teaching guys how to be accountable and teaching guys the standard that is going to have to be upheld in that building. And I think you got 2 veteran players that are going to be willing to do that. You want to slack off and Joe Toney's in the locker room? Good luck. He was voted whatever. I forget what the Chiefs MVP is called, but he's the guy who was on the line for them who was like, oh, we getting wild? Let's get wild. You want to play that game? Let's play that game and see how far down the path you go. And to me, that's what this Bears team needs. It's not just about accountability on the coaches. It's about the accountability that the players have to uphold. Are the players willing to be accountable to each other? And I'll tell you what, last season, when I see Nate Davis on the sidelines doing absolutely nothing and being allowed to return, that's not being accountable. That's where I think this Bears team needs the most improvement. And that's why, to me, I do like these additions. Again, are these still talented players? Yeah, Joe Toney's still a dominant guard. Had one of his best seasons last year at the guard position. Has struggled a little bit more at the left tackle position, right? Grady Jarrett, still somebody who in pass rush situations can absolutely still get after you. I did see that video of him and Jordan Love, by the way. I was excited by that. I want to keep that energy going there. He's going to get to see him 2 times a year. But like when you look at where this Bears team has to get to, right? Am I going to sit here and say that some of the moves that are being made are long-term moves? No, they're not. They're patches. But I think they're not Band-Aids over a gunshot wound in this situation. And they're patches in a situation where you still got the draft coming up. I think you still have to address some of these positions in the draft. I would still look to go guard. I would still look to go defensive interior at there. I still think Javon Dexter is going to take some steps this year, but that doesn't mean that you can't have depth at that position. Crazy to say that word there. I still think, right, even though you go out and you sign Dale Odegbo and you hope that he does turn into this Cam Jordan kind of player and that he's got those intangibles and that's what you're looking for from him, doesn't mean you don't go out and get a Mike Green on the edge, or if there's a Mason Graham on the defensive interior, that you don't go out and get that guy. Like, there's so many options available to the Chicago Bears here, and I think you want the patch now so that you can build the foundation of what this team has to be mentally. But you still get those guys in the building who you want to learn your system and can take up the mantle of being those leaders as time goes on. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments below. Do you feel like the Bears did a little bit more than just go out there and get veteran talent with trading for Joe Toney and signing Grady, Jarrett, or do you feel like you just went out and got a couple of guys who are over the hill? Let me know how you guys feel. I'll be down there talking with you as well. As always, man, it's your boy Pat the Designer back at it again. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bed down. One love. Peace.